considered myself to be the kind of person who would run for public office. So I thought maybe that's the reason why I should run, so that there is someone who represents people like me. There's a lot of single mothers out there.
I'm Frances Moore-LePay, and for the last 15 years, I've been traveling around the country talking to people about our democracy. The sense of disillusionment is so palpable.
There's no democracy in America.
People feel they've been robbed of democracy.
The people who are representing us don't listen because they are getting money for their campaigns.
Most Americans believe that corporations have too much sway in Washington. And that's before they know that there are 61 lobbyists walking the corridors of power in Washington for every person that you and I have elected to represent us there.
Decisions that they make are defending their relationships with these companies.
It's the feeling that we've been robbed. We've been robbed of our own democracy, robbed by narrow-moneyed interest.
A very small percentage of the population effectively decide who the rest of the population votes for.
Many are just so disillusioned they don't even vote.
When people are complacent and they feel as though they can't make a difference in their government and they're hands off, that's when the government really starts to do its own thing.
They feel that efforts to reform campaign finance and get money out of the system have all failed. They've fallen through loophole after loophole.
It's disappointing.
What most of us don't know is there is a very well-kept secret in America. There is a solution to this problem. It is already working at the state level. In 2 states now, they have what is called clean elections laws. About a decade ago, these began in Arizona, in Maine, so that if you want to run for office, if you're a teacher, if you're a waitress, all you have to do is show you're viable by collecting very small amounts from a certain number of citizens, and then you get public financing so that you do not have to be dependent on big private donations that you then feel accountable to after you're elected.
When the Clean Election Act referendum came about, when the process started, I was just working in a restaurant and taking care of my son.
Deb Simpson is one of these ordinary citizens who, because of clean elections in Maine, decided that there was a place for her in democracy and that she could run for office.
As an American, you have a responsibility in a democracy to participate, so I took that seriously. You're in Auburn and looking over the river into Lewiston if you look past Festival Plaza where the Auburn Community Band's playing this evening. You can see the old mills on the other side of the river. It feels really good to represent people of your hometown in Augusta. So growing up here, I know people. I think I have a really good understanding of the kind of struggles they have in life.
Deb Simpson was one of the first candidates to qualify for clean elections funding and run under the clean election system in 2000. And she was a single mom at the time who, if she'd run traditionally financed, would have found it difficult to spend the time raising the money, let alone actually raising the money to compete to run for the Maine House.
A woman, Susan Dorr, who was a state representative, started coming in the restaurants. Deb, you should run for office. She kept urging me to run, and I was like, Susan, you've got to be out of your mind. I'm a single parent of a black child living in the whitest state in America. I'm not running for office. I really never considered myself to be the kind of person who would run for public office, and that's what I told Neria, and she said, well, why don't you just come up and see what it's like? So she got me to come up to the State House, and it was interesting, and I looked around, and I was watching the people, and I said, you know, most of them are a lot older than I am. As the more I thought about it, you know, I was thinking about I can't raise the money. And she's like, there's the Clean Election Act, you know, I could do that. You know, I know 50 people, or I can go ask 50 people for $5 and get those qualifying contributions. I can do that. Because the thought of trying to find people who could give me major donations was just overwhelming. wouldn't even know where to start.
She took a big risk, I think, in even running for the legislature, and she did it because she strongly felt that she had something to give and a perspective that she wanted here.
Deb is a very principled, a very passionate leader of the Maine House of Representatives and the Judiciary Committee, a very effective legislator, and one I admire.
When my son was 2.5, his father left, and because it was a domestic violence situation. Now I do things to help other women who are victims of domestic violence and make laws to give them tools to help themselves. Looking back at that life, a life of fear in your home, and this life, it's hard to imagine I'm the same person.
The beauty of this is that now more and more candidates are choosing to run clean. In Maine, 80% of the legislature has now run clean.
But I mean, the truth is, it's about access. And when you've got 20 phone messages at the end of a long day, you're going to pull out the ones who gave you $1,000 or $5,000 or you know, made it clear that they had given you even more. And I think that kind of access to individuals based on money is hard to erode. It's hard to get out of our system, but clean elections clearly takes a good step in that direction. And I think it sends a message that the people you want to owe at the end of the day are the people of the state of Maine, or ideally this would become a national law, and you want to owe to the people of America your vote, and that's who you should owe it to.
Most Americans feel that democracy is something done to us or for us, not about us, not with us. And Deb Simpson is my hero because she's showing us that it's possible to live democracy, that it's not some, you know, heavy duty that we are obliged to serve in order to win our personal freedom or something like this. It is the essence of the good life.
Couldn't imagine that I could have that kind of effect and help other people when before I felt like I couldn't even help myself. So it's very different.
Getting engaged with our neighbors and acting on our deepest beliefs about what we want for our country and our own kids. I mean, that is living democracy for me. I think if more and more of us recognize that it is possible to have clean elections and get money out of the system, that many, many more of us would get back involved, and we can then solve the problems that now seem absolutely insurmountable. Beyond Maine, statewide clean elections are now working in Arizona, and in 2008 in Connecticut. And in several other states and cities, clean elections are in effect for a number of offices. For information, go to publiccampaign.org. And if you want to find out about the movement for federal clean elections, go to justsix.org.